Hey, welcome to Chap Chat, another episode. And this is Chaplain Denny. I am the full-time support chaplain for the South Carolina National Guard. And Chap Chat, with me today is a friend of mine, Major Dena Ogden. And she works down in the G3. And the G3 is involved with training, mobilization. And what do you do in the G3?
I'm the deputy state training officer.
Okay. All right. And just as a reminder, the reason for Chap Chat is I get the opportunity to speak to a lot of soldiers, and I get an opportunity to hear their stories, and I get also an opportunity to see how their stories have shaped or transformed their life. And that's what Chap Chat's about, is talking to those soldiers, understanding their story, and understanding that there's more to the people than just the uniform. And we have an amazing group of people within this organization, and of which you are one. And we'll start by me asking, I ask this question to almost everyone. What got you involved into the South Carolina National Guard, you wanting to come in and serve?
So originally I joined basic training, active duty, and spent a few years. But it was more just the deep love for my country and sense of pride, especially as a little girl, seeing my father come home in uniform. So the motivation wasn't money. I graduated college, so it was just more the love for my country.
How did your dad's service shape that for you?
I guess setting an example. You know, I grew up in a loving and supporting Christian home. Both my parents instilled those values in me, and just seeing that daily. Like I said, seeing my dad come home in uniform and wanting to be a part of that. He served in Vietnam, and at the age of 19 came back and was a drill sergeant at Fort Jackson.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
So how old was he when he deployed to Vietnam?
18. He did a year in Vietnam. It was right at the end. I think 1973 is when he came home.
Okay.
And
Just a baby.
He was a baby, and so as soon as he transferred to Fort Jackson, he was a drill sergeant, and he did multiple cycles. So I remember as a little girl, he would come home from his cycles or whatever, and he would bring stuffed animals that the soldiers would leave him. Or he was very physically fit. Mm-hmm. And he did a lot of the company runs or challenges, and so I don't know. He just provided that example.
Okay. Okay, and so there was something that you saw that inspired you to want to follow in his footsteps a little bit.
Yes.
I got you. That's cool.
Yes.
That's cool. And you've been in the Guard for how long?
I came in the Guard in 2005.
And prior to that, how many years active duty?
Only 2 years
active
duty. My mother, she became ill, just some medical issues, and I asked for a transfer. Of course, that was denied. So when I got from Fort Hood, Texas, so I had to make the decision. I got pregnant with my son, and so I just made the decision. At first, I felt very selfish. You know, I didn't want to leave the service, but mm-hmm. I knew family was important. And then the opportunity came for me to join the Guard. I knew nothing about it. It actually was a neighbor who I saw. She was an AGR soldier, had no idea what that meant. And before I knew it, a recruiter was at my house to talk to me about joining.
Teach you. That'll teach
you.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I knew through prayer, just faith, things happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I made the decision to go ahead. I got out, and then I found my way back.
And how many years break in service was it from when you left active duty to joining the Guard?
5 years.
Okay.
And in that 5 years, you know, I had my son, which brought a lot of challenges. So about the 8-month mark, he had a seizure. Left him. He had paralysis on one side, so we faced some challenges with that.
Yeah, and so at that point, you were primarily staying at home to be with him.
No, I was actually working.
Okay.
I was
okay.
working. 2 children at that point. Husband traveled a good bit. Actually put myself in nursing school. But had one more semester to go before I could take the exam to be an LPN. But, Gavin's medical condition, I couldn't finish it. So,
Did nursing school prepare you any for some of Gavin's challenges?
maybe some,
Okay.
no. I think more of the experience
Okay.
with dealing with his seizures, just in and out of the hospital. So,
What was he diagnosed with?
so at the time they told us that he was too young to be diagnosed with epilepsy, that he may grow out of it. My husband had seizures, his mother, his sister, and they all grew out, but Gavin did not. So there came a time where we had to make a decision for quality of life for surgery.
Okay.
So he did have brain surgery.
Okay. Did that help?
It did.
Okay.
It did help. He was almost a year seizure free. So at that time, I think it was in 2012, I was with the engineers. We got called, we received a NOS to deploy to Afghanistan.
Okay. And a NOS, for those that may not know, it's a notification that your unit is slated to mobilize, and it's generally a year or so out. So that's what she's talking about. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So with a lot of prayer again, my husband and I was discussing, should I go on this deployment, especially as a mother? But the doctors, the neurologists, they cleared him. And my husband at the time said, Dena, this is your opportunity. You need to do this for your career. So I made the decision to go.
Okay. And how old was Gavin at that time when you deployed?
He was 11.
Okay. All right. And you deployed to Afghanistan.
I did.
Okay. And what was that deployment like for you?
Well, so I was the only female of the whole battalion,
Mm.
only female officer. And that alone presented some of its challenges, compounded by toxic leadership. And then I had a life-threatening incident, and it was just a convoy explosion that I feel like God spared us from.
And you were in that explosion?
I was. It was very small. It's my driver at the time. We were in a convoy going back. Been out. It was a very long day. I think there was a total of 8 or 9 days we had been out. But one of the trips coming back, we just ran over a small explosive.
Just a small explosive.
I mean,
how weird does that sound?
I know.
So what was your vehicle the one that hit it?
Yes.
Okay. What was that like?
It happened so fast. We'd been out, like I said, it was just long days. And I remember taking my Kevlar and kind of cocking it to the side and putting my head against the window.
Mm-hmm.
And before I knew it, we heard something and saw like a blast. It was on my side, on the right side. And my driver and I kind of went forward. I remember hitting my knee, but that's it.
Okay.
Right. We called it in, did the protocol, got back to the base, went and saw the medics and PA. They, sent us to our rooms for, I think it was 42 or 72 hours.
Okay.
So, but it was fine. I remember thinking, God, everything's okay, and this is what I was here for.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't go without risk.
Right. And I was ready to go back.
Yeah.
So
when you were out there for 8 or 9 days, what were the conditions like? I mean, were you sleeping outside? Were you sleeping in your Humvee? Were you in little hooches along the way? What was that like?
There were a couple nights that we slept outside.
Okay.
Especially my guys. I was the XO, and I was along with the convoy commander. We didn't feel comfortable leaving our vehicles in case something happened. So slept in the truck or right outside. And then there was a couple times that we would go inside if where we were at had tent available for us to sleep.
Okay. So it was pretty austere.
Yeah.
It's not like you were bouncing from Hilton to Hilton.
No. I mean, there was a few places I I believe Zormat was one. We would go in and you could hear incoming and outgoing, but again, we were young. We were excited.
Right.
We were so excited. I remember the first time we heard incoming and everybody got up from the tent and the lights came on and we're just jumping out of our sleeping bag, getting accountability. And then after that, I went back to sleep and I woke up the next morning and my guys were like, "Ma'am, you slept through every single one of them." Like, you guys didn't wake me up. I didn't hear it. But after that point, it was like, okay, we're here.
Right.
It
just becomes part of it.
Yeah. One memory from Afghanistan, it was a convoy. We were getting ready to roll out, and I have a picture, and it's in my office, and I keep it on my desk. And it's all of us praying before we leave. It's a beautiful picture, and it was just,
And that was with Chaplain Cecil Costadani, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Good.
He was
Good.
with us.
Good. Yeah, he's in Germany now, by the
Okay.
way, suffering for Jesus in Germany. I keep asking him for pictures of him in lederhosen. I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. Funny story about him, if I can share.
Yeah.
He showed up before.
If it embarrasses him, you can absolutely share.
Well, I remember we were preparing, show up at the armory with all your gear, and he rolls up in his vehicle, and everything that he owned was in the back seat of his car. We were like, so, poor chaplain assistant, he helped him, but
So Cecil brought everything, including the kitchen sink.
everything.
Wow, that sounds about right. So you were in Afghanistan for how long?
So probably 3 months. That's when I got a call from my husband, Brian.
It's okay.
My son had a massive seizure.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
And, hemorrhage on his brain. So it was that morning, myself and Major Sean Easley.
Mm-hmm.
We went to PMA together.
Great dude.
Yeah,
Squared
awesome.
away guy, yeah.
It's a good friend. We went to work out and got back to the room. I was going to take a shower to get ready for the bulb, and I saw where my husband, at the time on Skype, had called me multiple times. And, I thought, oh, God, he's going to tell me he misses me again. He loves me. Come home. Because I just talked to him like a few nights before. And he's like, can't you just come home? Tell him you got to come home. I'll be home. So I called him. And, I knew. I immediately knew something was wrong. And, my husband had his head down. I could tell he was crying. And the first thing I said to him is, "Where's Gavin?"
Mm-hmm.
So it took a few days to get home.
And just for clarity, that call from your husband was to let you know what about Gavin?
He had passed.
Okay.
He had passed. Matter of fact, when Brian called, the ambulance, paramedics, the cops, everybody was in the house. So,
Wow.
and I remember hearing my husband ask, because they were in arguments, an argument about him going upstairs, and just they were having to go through the whole protocol of, the child called.
Sure.
And I just remember him saying, just whatever you do, let me carry my son. Do not bring him down in a body bag.
Right.
And then the next thing I remember is the screen went black. I think Brian threw the computer because they did bring him down.
The one request he had.
The one request that he asked.
I can't imagine what it's like to get that news. What were your initial reactions when you had heard that?
I went into shock, first of all. I remember yelling and pointing at the screen, like hitting it with my finger. What did you say? Tell me again. What do you mean? and then just screaming. And I remember walking out of my room screaming. And I'm pretty sure I told Major Easley this story. If not, he may hear it. But I remember going out, calling his name, and then coming back in. I don't know. I was shouting for somebody to help.
Yeah.
I felt, all of a sudden everything went dark. But another soldier was walking past my room and heard, and he came in. And he said, Lieutenant Ogden, is everything okay? What's going on? And I just grabbed him and told him I just lost my son. Mm-hmm. And, he held me. Like, he didn't try to free his arm or anything. He just allowed me to hang on to him for, like, dear life.
Right.
And during this time, that's when the command received the
Red Cross
message. Yeah. And then once that happened, that's when everybody, like Sean Easley, come run into the room, my commander, everybody coming to check on me.
Yeah.
So
that has to be such a helpless feeling, especially knowing you're thousands of miles and multiple time zones away.
Oh, yeah.
What was that trip like, going from Afghanistan, going home, to knowing what may be awaiting you?
Again, I was in shock. I remember, I'm trying to remember the PA that was there. I remember him coming up to me, giving me a bag. There was something to help me sleep when I got on the plane, and he told me, he said, Lieutenant Ogden, take this on your last flight, the longest flight, and get some rest. It took 2 days. I remember getting to Romania, getting a connecting flight. I remember when I got on the plane, I came back with an active duty unit, and they were so excited to come home.
Yeah.
And just the morale. And what stood out the most, the sergeant major that came on board, he stands out. The soldiers, from what I saw and can remember, really respected him. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, I don't think it to that point from leaving Sharana that I cried. At one point, I know I stopped because, again, I had to get home to see for myself. And anyways, I'm just sitting there just watching this, I want to say it was an infantry unit just coming on, and as they go by the sergeant major, showing him respect.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the contrast.
Right.
Right? Like, they are so excited to go home, and you going home is probably the last thing that you want to be doing because of what you're going home for.
Right, and they had no idea. I know someone said something to the sergeant major for him to keep his eye on me. And I know this because once we landed at one point for the plane to get refueled, the sergeant major had to come back and say, hey, we're getting off the plane. You okay? You all right? And I said, yes, sergeant major. And so he walked me out, and I remember sitting down at a table just waiting. And I remember him looking at me. And so I finally asked him, I said, Sergeant Major, do you know why I'm going home? And he said, no, I don't. And then I told him what happened. And, he gave me a hug. I didn't know who I was. And when I say sergeant major, it was like when you picture a sergeant major, what a sergeant major would be, like this big burly guy.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And all like I said, the guys coming by showing him respect. But at that moment, it's not like he wasn't a sergeant major that just came off of a deployment in Afghanistan.
Right.
So.
You're making me tear up.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It's just, those are the things that I remember on this flight. I remember sitting next to a young kid. I asked him how old he was. I think he said maybe 23, 24. He was excited to go home. He talked about his sister. He had a good deployment. And then, he asked me about my story, so I told him. And you could just see his face, like,
yeah.
Oh, my God, I'm so sorry.
Right.
But do you know, and then I remember I told him, I looked at him, I said, look, this is our last flight. I'm going to take something. I'm going to go to sleep. Will you wake me up when we land?
Right.
And I remember the kid or the soldier, he put his hand on my back.
Yeah.
Didn't know me.
Why was that significant for you?
It was comforting. He was a
Okay.
complete stranger. But yeah, he put his hand on my back. And it wasn't weird,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I think God works in mysterious ways too, through people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And two, he was in uniform.
Right. Yeah, there's
Coming back with the same mission, but
Yeah. There's a bond, right, that happens regardless of who you are when you are in the uniform. There's a connection that happens, and they don't know you, you don't know them, but yet you're still united through service.
And
so-
I've had that throughout my career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'm thankful that God put those people on that trip, albeit those small interactions, just as a reminder that God's with you, right?
right.
All right, so fast forward to when you get home. Did you fly into Columbia, Charlotte? Where did you?
Columbia.
Okay. And who's there to greet you?
My husband,
Okay.
a couple family members,
Okay.
a couple friends.
Reunions are supposed to be joyful. What was that like?
It was not.
Right.
It was short, of course, at the airport.
Yeah.
I remember walking up, they all hugging me, but I was anxious to get home. I wanted to get home.
Right.
And so as soon as I walked in the house, at that point I couldn't tell you who was sitting in the living room. And I walked upstairs to his room, and I just fell on his bed, and I just screamed and cried and
Sure.
asked why.
Did you get an answer to that question?
No, not at that moment.
Okay. When did you? Because for when you said not at that moment, to me that means that at some point you've got some kind of answer or reconciliation.
First medically, or why, or...
Well, you had said just I was yelling why,
Oh, yeah.
and so to me that's a question.
It is. So again, like I said, I come from a Christian background. And to this day, I've never been mad at God. I don't understand, and I question why.
Mm-hmm. And that's an okay thing.
Mm-hmm.
Too often, I think, and this is maybe a bias of mine, so people get through life the best that they can. But I think sometimes it's okay to question God.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's okay. And blind acceptance of difficult things, it sometimes may be helpful to some people, but I also think it's okay to ask the question, knowing that you may never get the answer. So how soon after you got home was the funeral?
It was later I want to say that week.
Okay.
The next morning, we went to the funeral home. I had to view his body.
Mm.
I had to see him.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. He was. And then we had to go pick out a suit.
All that tough stuff
All
that
that tough
goes.
stuff. That just kind of went numb.
Yeah.
A lot of it, it's kind of blank or blur.
Mm-hmm.
It's a few years ago. I sat down and I had to read the visitors, the sign-in book at the funeral.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who was there. So yeah, and I remember feeling so guilty. Like I sat down and I read, and I'm like, I worked with this person. I didn't, I don't remember this family member. I don't remember them. Did I send them a thank you card?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
isn't that crazy? Yeah, I remember having conversations with my husband. He said, Dena, we just talked about this. You don't remember? It's okay. I'll tell you again. Yeah, I had a hard time with it.
And that's all normal. That's all normal reactions. You mentioned guilt. Was there any guilt that you had chose the deployment? Because hindsight's always 20/20. And if you knew prior to going on the deployment, you'd be like, "There's no way in heck I'm going."
Oh, no way, no way. But yes, oh yes, I blamed, of course, being his mother. I should have been there. You know, of course, my husband had guilt. He should have. It was November the 6th. It was election day, and they were out of school. Brian walked upstairs to wake him up, and he said, "Dad, we don't have school today." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Go back to sleep. I'll see you tonight. We'll watch football."
Mm-hmm.
My husband goes to work. He remembers he stopped by and got some stuff from the store. Got him Reese cup. That was his favorite. During that day, my daughter decides to go visit a friend. So the guilt, all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was there with him.
Right.
And my husband coming home to a dark house, he knew.
Yeah.
And then having to call me. So, yeah, it was definitely a lot of guilt. Yeah, I think at one point I blamed him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you told me to go on this appointment. It's my time. He's on your watch.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had to ask him for forgiveness. And there's the guilt on my end. You know, making the decision to take this appointment.
Yeah.
Because at one point, the commander came to me and said, "Are you sure you want to go on this appointment?" I said, "Absolutely."
Right.
And I just knew, you know, he'd been cleared, and we talked about it, and I was with the kids, you know, up to 11 years of his life. So, I mean, I've been, you know, TDY or a few trips,
Mm-hmm.
you know, AT. But, you know, this was different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I fell into a dark place. I'll admit that.
So before I ask you about that,
Okay.
you said you were numb. Do you recall how long that numbness lasted?
So, General McCarty and the chief of staff at the time was Colonel Hall, retired Dale Hall.
Yeah.
They came to the house to see me. I'll never forget that. They told me that I need to take some time, stay home, and then can return to work. At the time, I was on orders. They were trying to figure out, you know.
Sure.
So I stayed home for about 3 months before I went back. Got orders down at the G3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Under Colonel Kelvin Brown.
Okay.
And so I don't think I went out of the house the whole 3 months. It was
you isolated.
Crying.
Yeah,
oh
you
yeah.
just...
The school was wonderful. They came. They brought an album, like a photo album book that they did. Brought stuff from the school, letters that the kids wrote from his class.
Wow.
I remember standing there just, you know, receiving this box of things. But I came back after the 3 months, and it was rough. I would sit at my desk, just staring or trying to get motivated to work. There's a couple times I'd have to walk out, go out back, and then I'd come back in. Colonel Brown would stop and say, "Dena, you okay? Everything good? Everything's okay?" I'd say, "Yes, sir." He knew, you know.
Sure.
People would stop. Some would stop, ask me how I was doing. There was a lot of people, and I know this because I've been there, but they would walk by who would talk to me before the deployment, see me all the time and speak, but kept on going or kind of hesitated.
Yeah.
They wanted to say something, but they didn't. They didn't know what to say, so they were uncomfortable, but they kept going.
That concludes this session of talking with Major Dena Ogden. Stay tuned for part 2. That'll be coming at you. So thank you for joining us.